On everybody, just wanted to jump on real quick and continue my rant on Mastermind principle. And just really, it's just about the principles of alliance and just coming together under a spirit of unity. Don't mean that everything will be perfect, but that you are of the same mind, you're of the same spirit, you all have the same common goal, and you're willing to come together and collaborate and to contribute what it is that you have to contribute to the collective. And so it's not just about being a taker. It's not even also about being a giver, but it's about an even exchange, an energetic exchange. You contribute as much as you take, as opposed to just being take. And so I think for me, that is a revelation because I'm on one end of the spectrum. And then you have those who are on the other end of the spectrum. Me, I am the oldest child, so I've learned how to be independent, to get it out the mud, to do what I have to do, to persevere. I'm very independent. I want to learn things. I want to learn everything, and I want to do everything on my own. And it's a great quality to have, but it's also not the best, is because we only have a limited amount of time here. So even if it's 100 years, there's only so much time. So you, within your lifetime, can't learn all of the lessons that there is to learn. You can't heap up and learn all of the knowledge. You can't have all of the resources. And so for me, it's about learning how to leverage the resources, the experience, and the contributions of others. Like I said before in my last video, I've learned more from my lessons in life than I have from my wins. But the thing is, I don't have enough time, and neither do I want to go through everything there is to go through in order to learn it, when you have others that have been through other things in life. And so they're not losses, they're lessons. And so we can come together and we can leverage the benefit and experience that others have without actually having to have gone through it ourselves. You don't always have to bump your head and learn what not to do. That's wisdom, to be able to learn and leverage the benefit and experiences of others without having had to have touched that stove in order to know that it's hot. And so it's a way to leverage the contributions of others. As we all have multiple gifts, but we are not meant to be an island unto ourselves. As strong as we are, as resilient as we are, and as much as we would like to, it makes life a whole lot easier when you have a collective. And you may not have that benefit. I haven't, whether it's friends or family or collaborative. But the thing is, we have no excuse. This is the age of information. This is the age of learning. But not only that, it's the digital age. And so time, there is no time or space and distance. Or I'm sorry, there is no time or distance in the spirit, first of all. But then we have technology. We have Zoom. We have FaceTime. We have YouTube. Like, we have all of these avenues of technology, so there it breaks down borders. So even if you don't have a physical mastermind or alliance, which I'm sure that you do, we just don't look. But it's like with the law of attraction, once this stuff is brought to your attention, then you will begin to attract the people and the resources and the paths and the things that you need in order to complete what it is that you initiate. But there's no reason for us to be lacking. You have so many channels of information. Instead of using social media and search engines for our appetite that doesn't feed us, whether it's entertainment, celebrity gossip, porn, whatever, toxic traits, or not necessarily condemning it as far as toxic, but whatever you've been using it for to fulfill pleasure, how about you turn and leverage it for your benefit, for your growth, for your evolution, for your transformation? I mean, there's so many channels and avenues. We just have to change our perspective and what it is that we're using it for. And I know for me, like for instance, I've been on Facebook for years. I have an Instagram. I don't really do the Instagram thing. I have a TikTok. TikTok is good, but it's a rabbit hole. YouTube is great, but it's a rabbit hole. For me, Twitter is great, and I'm just something that again, this is a revelation to me. I'm sure people have been using Twitter for years and understand the power of it, but Twitter, the conversation and the talk is different on Twitter, and you have people that have different conversations and that are willing to give more of their resources and of their expertise than you may have than they may do on other platforms. And then again, I haven't experienced other platforms to know this, but I'm only speaking from my personal experience, and the talk is different on Twitter. But I know that whatever avenue, whatever platform you're on, there are people that are more than willing to give of their time and their resources and their expertise, maybe not everything, there may be a paywall because people want to be compensated for their time, and also people don't seem to value information that's free because it didn't cost them anything. And so I don't fault people when they pay for access to certain things. And like I said before, I know that coaching and mentorship and things have been commercialized and over essentialized, and just went from one end of the spectrum to the other, but there is value in it. I don't believe in pricing people out, because a lot of times I know that there is a market, for whatever price point you have, because your paradigm, if money may be limited in your experience, don't mean that that's the case for everyone, and that's not everybody's experience. But I also don't want to create a paywall to where people that I can potentially impact and that can benefit from what I have to offer. Just speaking about me, I don't want to price people out. And so I know that there's a thin line. There's some kind of balance that needs to be met there. But people are a lot more willing to give of what they have to help others. If even it will just take you the next 2 or 3 steps in advancement, and so the thing is aligning with people, like I said, that are where you want to be and that have what it is that you want to have, and not to necessarily be a user, but to contribute. Like I said, equal distribution between give and take. And so you may start out being more of a receiver, but we all have things that we can contribute. And so I know for me, the biggest thing has been getting over my self-concept, my self-esteem, and thinking that that since my financial experience has been limited, that I don't have anything to offer. And that's not true, but that takes a change in perception, a change in mindset, and just really deep diving and just really doing the work and getting outside of working through trauma and just limiting mindsets that are not true. And when you challenge them, they don't hold up under the weight of, and they don't hold the same authority that they used to have, but you won't know that until you actually embark on the process. But when I think about masterminds, and I think about alliance, and like I said, proximity, it's crazy that now I'm on this wavelength. Now I'm starting to run into and attract synchronicities that confirm it. On my, like for instance, on my friends list, on my news feed, I'm starting to see more and more posts that affirm the understanding that I'm coming into. And that's not to say that they just came out of nowhere. They've always been there probably, but they just wasn't in my line of sight. It's just kind of like, you notice when you first get a car, that is the only car that you see on the highway, store, just on the street. You start to see that car, and it's like that car has always been there, but it was not in your line of sight. But now that you are in that frequency of sight, it's all that you see. It's just like a weird phenomenon. This is how it happens, part of the law of attraction. But I say all that to say that I've been seeing posts that just further confirm. Like for instance, I seen a post today from one of my friends. He was saying that it's hard to be lazy in a room full of go-getters. And then I seen another post from one of my friends. He said that if you are in a room full of historians, it's just natural that you are going to learn something and learn more about history as a byproduct of being in that room. He was saying it's the same thing when you're in a room full of people who are talking about money and finances. You're going to make money just as a byproduct because you are in the proximity of that room, but it's your job to get in that room. And that's pretty much the essence of what I'm saying, is that it's much more easier now to get in those rooms than it's ever been in history. When you think about masterminds and you think about alliances, the whole world is built on the principle of it, and always has been. There has always been groups and sects of people that have access to resources and knowledge that the majority don't, and that there is a entrance fee. Whether it's sacrifice, it's going to require sacrifice something from you, even literal sacrifices. Some, weird stuff that they require for entry, but there has always been groups. That's where you get the concept of the Illuminati or the Ooish people that are over entertainment, and that are said to run the world. Like I said, the Illuminati, the Cabal, whether it's fraternities, sororities, it's all in society as far as groups of information that that are an alliance, that are a mastermind, that have access to resources and knowledge and things that the average person don't, that are benefits to individuals. And so the job for you is to find those people and to get in the proximity of those rooms. And I'm not saying as far as compromise yourself or to do weird, bizarre, freaky things, or I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about within reason, but I'm also assuming that your average person hearing this would have that common sense. But you do got to put that disclaimer out there. But what I'm saying is, for me, like I said, finances has always been a struggle, for instance. So for me, I've found that the more connections that I have made over the years, proximity, just digitally, just as far as Facebook or Zoom, when I get in that proximity, certain things rub off on me. Certain things become easier to imagine. Certain things become more tangible, and they become more real because I am in the proximity of people for where those things are not a problem. Not to say that they never were, but they have overcome them, and now that is a strong point for them, or that is an area of expertise for them, and so that's my weakness, and so I can draw from their strength and to help me compensate for my weakness and build me up in that area. And then once I'm built up, then I have something to contribute to the collective in other areas that are no-brainer for me and that come easy for me, but they may be weaknesses for others, and I can contribute in that area. And so it is a collaborative effort, but the thing is that we have to become, like I said, we have to get in proximity with those groups, whether it be physically or whether it be digitally. Even Napoleon Hill, who I got the mastermind principle from, he had an invisible council of counselors that he had of men that were dead, but that he consulted with. It's weird and it's esoteric, but it's true. He consulted with, and he drew attributes from them that he admired, but he didn't physically meet these people. It became so pronounced to the point to where he said that these imaginary men that he looked up to began to take on a tone of life, so much so that it creeped him out, and he had to discontinue the meetings because it freaked him out and it became so real. And not only that, he couldn't talk about these things until years after, because people would have thought that he was weird. And we even see it biblically. We see it when Jesus, when he went up to the Mount of Transfiguration, he consulted with Moses and Elijah, which represents the law and the prophets. These were men that had been long gone, they had been dead, but he was consulting with them. And I guess that's maybe where the principle of talking to the ancestors came from. I'm not here to confirm, I'm not here to condemn it, but there is spiritual and biblical precedent for it. Not to go off on a deep end and not to go looking for it to the point of extremism, but that's not here for me to judge. But there definitely is power in collaboration. And so, like I said, for me, like I said, for instance, like I said, when finances haven't been a struggle of mine, like I said, when I get in the proximity of those investors or who are strong financially, like I said before, a lot of things can't be taught. It's more easily caught. That's where mirror neurons come in at. And so that's what Napoleon Hill was saying with as far as the mastermind, that of course the obvious benefits of financial being, you get access to other people's resources, you get their minds, their network, the capital, whatever it is. But more importantly, he said that there's a psychic or which is a mental spiritual aspect. And he was just saying, like, when you have two brains that come together, because our brains are transmitters and receivers of energy. And he said, so when you come together and you have two brains, you don't just get the collaborative effort of two brains, but it forms a third one. And like I said before, that confirms in scripture where Jesus said, where there are two or three together, I am there in the midst. Not only that, I believe in Deuteronomy and a couple of other chapters, he says that one should chase 1,000, but two should put 10,000 to flight. So if you think about it, it's not only simple addition, but it is a multiplicative, if that's a word, or a compounding effort that happens when we come together. Because if you think about it, if he said one should chase 1,000, so quite naturally, our minds think, well, if two come together, we can chase 2,000. But he didn't say that. So it took on a multiplicative effort. He said, when y'all come together, now y'all won't be chasing 2,000, but y'all will put 10,000 to flight. That's multiplication. That is an exponential increase that happens when we come together. And so, like I said, a lot of things have been jumping out as I have been on this journey, and it's taken on a life of its own. Just even thinking about the Bible, and I don't want to botch it. And so, verbatim, I'm going to read real quick where it says that Proverbs 13 and 20. It says, he who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm, or he'll become a fool. And it's just the principle that is widely known, but we may not fully understand the intricacies of it, where it says that you are the collective sum of the 5 people that you surround yourselves with. And so if you surround yourself with 5 alcoholics and you spend most of the time with them, you're going to be the 6th. If you surround yourself with 5 people who have or are chasing financial freedom like you are, then the collaborative effort of y'all, then success is inevitable. If you surround yourself with, if you're a married man or a woman, and you surround yourself with 5 friends who are single and promiscuous, or who all may be in relationships, but they may not honor their relationships or their marriages, where you may think that you're the strongest, or you may think that there's certain things that you won't never do, but you are the energy that you surround yourself with. And energy is much more impressive, or it has much influential. That's the word I'm looking for. It's much more influential than just thought. It's much more powerful. That's where you get emotion from. It's energy and motion. It's more powerful than just thought. And so going back to what I said about where 2 or 3, that whole scripture says that, verily I say unto you, whatsoever you shall bound on earth shall be bound in heaven, whatsoever you shall loose shall be loosed in heaven. That's just talking about the power that we have as an individual. So we do have power as an individual, and you can get things done. It just will take you a little bit longer, and you'll come up against more opposition because it's just you. But he says then, again I say unto you that if 2 of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, or in the spirit of unity and collaborative effort, there I am in the midst of them. And so that goes back to say where I was saying, well, no, I didn't read that scripture yet. This scripture is from Ecclesiastes 4. He says, then I returned and I saw vanity under the sun. There is one alone, and there is not a second. Yea, he has neither child nor brother, yet there is no end to all of his labor, neither is his eye satisfied with riches. Neither say he, for whom do I labor, and bereave my soul of good. He said, this is a vanity, it is a sore travail. 2 are better than 1, because they have a good reward for their labor. So that goes back to where 2 gather together in my name, or if you should agree on anything. He's saying that two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. That goes back where I was saying a collaborative effort, where we strengthen each other's weaknesses, and so we shore it up on every hand. So if everybody has something to contribute, we all help fulfill that which is lacking, so that there are no chinks in the armor. We help fulfill and shore up each other's weaknesses until we are strong as a unit. He says that, for if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falls, for he has not another to help him up. And that has been the case for me all of my life. Like I said, I was the first child, so I was the forerunner. I've always been a pioneer. And even as being a married man, I've had my wife there with me, but there are certain battles that she can't help me with. There are certain things I can't express to her. There's a certain perspective she can't understand, and vice versa. And so you can still be in a relationship, and this is not a knock on my marriage or anyone's marriage, but you can be in a relationship, and in certain aspects you still can feel alone, or there are certain things that you have to bear alone. And so he says that when he falls, he doesn't have another to help him up. So if you got the lone wolf, alpha wolf mentality, which is what I've had, I'm a very independent person. I would like to think that I can do everything by myself, and in fact I probably could. It just would take a whole lot longer, and I would have to go through a whole lot more than if I was to collectively collaborate with someone, with others that have the same spirit, same mission, same mentality, or similar that I have. And so he says, again, if two lie together, then they have heat. But how can one be warm alone? And if one prevails against him, two shall withstand him. But a threefold cord is not quickly or easily broken. And that goes back to where two or three come together. And not only that, but Napoleon Hill himself said it in Think or Grow Rich, that when two minds come together energetically, they create a third mind. And so you don't just get the efforts of those two, but it takes on a whole energy and life of itself. So think if you got 10, 20, 50, 100 people all coming together on one accord, like they said the church did in the book of Acts, and we see the result of that. We see how the Spirit of God came collaboratively as how powerfully it came, and what they experienced as a result of it, because they all came together and they all come of the same spirit, the same mind, and giving of themselves. They all had the same mission. And so we saw the power and effects of that. And not only that, but you think there are other instances in the Bible, like I said, or whatever spiritual text that you, whatever persuasion you are of, I'm sure that there are examples. I only talk about the Bible because that's what I know. And so just even thinking about Saul, as far as we know, he wasn't raised up to be a prophet, king, or a priest. But once Samuel anointed him, he told him that the Spirit of God will come upon him, and that he would come upon a company of prophets, and that he would prophesy. Saul wasn't a prophet. He wasn't even anointed to be a prophet. He was anointed to be a king. But it said when the company of prophets came, that the spirit of prophecy came upon him so much that he prophesied so strongly and was so fluent and proficient in it that people asked, is Saul among the prophets? And if you do history, the company or the school of prophets was just pretty much an association of prophets. It kind of was like a school or like a mystery school, to where they came together and they were sharpened and helped cultivated and mentored in the gift of prophecy and worship and all those things. And so when they came through, it was like a company of traveling prophets. So they came through, and when he joined them, the same spirit that was collaboratively on them rubbed off on him so strongly that he began to prophesy so much that people thought that he was a prophet. But it was because it was a result of what had rubbed off of him from the collective that he had been in close proximity to. Same thing with later on, after he had become King Saul, and David was beginning to be raised up. And it said that when, and again, he hated David, but he knew where peace was. He knew where the Spirit of God was. It was with David. And so when he would become distressed, it said that he would call for David to play the harp and that the Spirit would leave him. And so the impartation of peace and glory that rested on David temporarily rubbed off on Saul, when David was in his proximity. And so again, it shows you the spiritual principle of proximity. And like this video is 25 minutes long. I don't want to continue to rambling on. I think that my point has been made. Hopefully nuggets you get something from it. If you just take away one thing from what I said today, hopefully some value was given. But like I said, long story short is that I'm learning the principle of collaboration. Some people may call it your tribe, or your community, or whatever it is, but it's important to get around people, whether that be physically or digitally or both, to where you can help get strengthened up and mentored and stretched and imparted in things that you are looking to accomplish, whether it be financial, whether it be relational, whether it be parental, whether it be psychological, whether it be spiritual. There is power in collaboration, and I'm not saying it to be needy or to be draining or to be a taker, but get around people that have or exemplify and have proof of what it is that you want or need or at least seeking and heading in that direction. And like I said, hopefully something has been said. I've been rambling for 26 minutes. So again, I will talk to you guys later. Peace.